Hello， 大家好，我是月明。今天开始，我打算开一个新的系列，也就是 Study with me 这个92年原始释放法教学课程。之所以想要开启这个新的系列呢，是因为虽然之前说过很多遍，这个视频需要反反复复的看很多遍，但即便如此，在复看的过程中，可能时不时还是会有一些忽略掉指导员所说的话，其实他们说的话没有任何一句是废话，都非常的重要。所以后来我想了想，那就干脆和大家一起来看这个视频，中途会加上我自己的一些体会和理解，那大家就当作是在同一个自习室里面一起来学习好了。教学的一开始呢，是有很多的释放法的学生来跟大家介绍这门课程能够从中得到一些什么样的益处，然后以及由这位机构的 CEO 来和大家稍微做一下简单的介绍。
Lastly, the effects are cumulative. I've gone through trainings, a lot of people have, and as time goes on, the effects of the training wear off. If you are consistent with a method, if you use it on a daily basis, the effects become more and more powerful as time goes on.
Hello, my name is Jim McMullen.
我希望大家在看的时候不要快进，还是要用心的去体验一下。
But unlike so many others, this course is not about what I gained, but about what I lost.
这里面的每一句话都能够加深你对这门课程以及这个技巧的认识。
Less limitation is more unlimitedness. I found that as I conscientiously used the technique, I began to see the real me emerging. As I dropped many of those unwanted feelings and thoughts, I began to experience myself as lighter, more alive, more giving, more energetic, more loving, and of course, much happier. I noticed that the unconscious negative feelings I'd been carrying around for so many years were not the real me after all, and that I, like everyone else, was someone very special, covered up by all those thoughts, considerations, and ideas that were holding me back. Today is going to be a very special day for you, because the program that you're about to participate in will show you how to better all the areas of your life. Now, most programs come from the premise that you are imperfect and that you need to develop yourself into perfection. The release technique turns this around. We're saying
这里呢 CEO 说了一个很重要的观点，就是和这个悉达多德流派大家懂的所说的这个道理是一样的，就是说我们本身都是非常完美的，就是真正的我，这个真我是非常完美的，但是我们之所以没有活成真我，是因为有很多的这个情绪或者说业力遮蔽了我们的双眼，让我们看不到所有事情的真相。这边说到的波澜不惊的平静的状态，才是我们释放法所要达到的目的，并不是像很多教法或者很多人所认为的我只要每天开心才是这个教学的目的，并不是。后面会有更加详细的说明，在讲双面释放的时候会说，厌恶和贪恋都要释放，好的感觉和坏的感觉都要释放，因为只要有所谓的好或坏，那就一定是在一个二元对立里面，只要你倾向于任何一方，那么它相反的一面都是同时存在的。所以这一边我们一开始就讲到了，我们最终的目的是达到波澜不惊的平静的状态，不存在好与不好，开心与不开心，喜悦与悲伤，没有这样的二元对立的平静的状态。 所以说啊，就是不要轻易的跳过每一句话，像他在这里简简单单的说的一句波澜不惊的平静状态，其实说了一个非常非常重要的关键。当然，关于双面释放以及为什么好的情绪也要释放掉，在后面的课程会有更加详细的说明。
This course is completely different from any course you've ever experienced. Other techniques may show you how to cope with, manage, or handle your stress and uncomfortable feelings, but what you'll learn on these tapes is how to eliminate them, release them for good. Now, no one has to tell you that you're living in very challenging times, because the release technique works on the spot in any situation. It will help you to be in control of your life no matter what's going on around you. The release technique is developed over all of the 8 tapes.
这里说的每一盘磁带都为后一盘的技巧打下了坚实的基础，这也是一句非常重要的话。这里面的每一个内容都不可以跳过，因为它是一个循序渐进的过程。如果你直接看后面一步的话，那你后面通通的都会做得不好，所以必须要严格的按照这个视频里面的教学步骤，一点一点来。包括在整个课程中，他会时不时的说让你暂停录像带，开始去做自己的功课。这个时候也是希望你真的要这么做。所以这里再次说一下，我录这个系列的目的呢，也是希望和大家一起来学习。这样的话，感觉学习过程中可能会有一个陪伴，也会让大家更有耐心的一起来做这个练习的过程。
Builds a solid foundation for the tapes that follow. You won't have the whole technique until you've completed all 8 tapes and the accompanying workbooks. Follow the instructions on the tape. They will experientially guide you through the learning of this process. If you're viewing this tape without your own set of workbooks, please stop now and order a set before you continue. You must have your own set of workbooks and complete them in order to learn the release technique. We say that you have the answer to everything you've been seeking right within you, and the technique you are about to learn will give you the how-to. You're in for a treat, because these tapes have the power to transform every area of your life and give you a practical skill that will be yours from now on. Now let me turn you over to Hale Dwoskin, the CEO and Director of Training of the Sedona Institute.
Good morning and welcome. I'm glad you could join us this morning. What we'll be doing over the next 4 days and over the next 8 segments of this tape is learning a wonderful and powerful way of letting go of those uncomfortable feelings, that stress that's been stopping you from having everything that you choose. Back in 1976, I was in the same place that you are now. I was about to embark on something I knew very little about. I'd heard many good things about it, but I really wasn't sure what I was getting myself into. But as the course unfolded and as I just stayed open to the process, I was very happily surprised. Actually, it way exceeded all my expectations. In fact, that's why I'm standing here. This many years later, I've gotten so much benefit from this course that I've decided to help others. And just to give you some of the areas in my life that have changed, I've lost weight, my relationships are better, I've used it to become successful in business. In fact, I can't think of an area in my life that hasn't been positively changed from using this technique. But the thing that I like most of all is that as I've been using this technique over the years, it keeps getting better. The more I use it, the better it gets. And also, a wonderful thing is it happens as you keep using this technique. The more you use it, the calmer you feel inside, no matter what is going on around you. So now, no matter what happens in my life, even if it does disturb me for a moment, there's still a sense of equanimity within me that never leaves. Now, also, those of you who are taking the class this morning and those of you who are going to be participating at home have the added benefit of having 2 instructors. Usually there's just 1 instructor in the class. But what we'll be doing for the benefit of all of you, those of you here and those of you at home, is we'll be having, in addition to me teaching part of the class, Nikki Warner, one of our chief instructors, will also be joining us and presenting some of the material, helping you at home release, as well as me. So I'd like to have Nikki Warner come up and introduce her, and then I'll let her take the next part.
Well, Good morning and welcome everybody.
Nikki 呢是我们这一次课程全8集中的另外一个指导员，这边也是他在分享他从中所获得的一些益处和对生活中的改变。
So first of all, those of you here, if there's anything I say that you're not quite clear about or a phrase I use that you're not familiar with, please feel free to stop me. As I was saying though, I took the course 5.5 years ago, and I was in New York working in the garment district when I heard about the seminar. And it was my employer who told me about it. I took the course not really knowing what to expect at all. And what I found was some very profound changes really started to take place almost immediately. I found that the technique started to change every area of my life. It started to change how I was at work. It started to change how I felt about myself. It started to change how my interaction and my relationships with the people I was meeting, new people, also with my family when I actually went back to England. And in fact, what it did is I would definitely have described myself as a shy, fairly reserved person at first. And what it did was it really helped me to break out of that. It really helped me in terms of, instead of holding back from people, I started to be much more assertive. I started not feeling kind of afraid of people. I started wanting to really be with them. I felt much more open about people, much better about myself. And the more I used the technique, the more that just kind of kept growing inside until it just started to change something. And in fact, that in itself really started to change every area of my life very profoundly. So you're going to have a lot to look forward to over the next 8 tapes and this next 4 days, because you're going to find things that are life-changing for you in areas that you're interested in areas you want to improve. And it's just going to open a tremendous amount of doors. And as you use the technique, you're going to find it just keeps on getting better and better. I've been using it now for 5.5 years, and it's still as fresh as the day that I learnt it. In fact, I get more gains today because they keep on growing. And so you're going to have that to look forward to ongoing as you use the technique. So you're in for a wonderful surprise these next 8 tapes and these next 4 days. We're going to have a great time. Well, let me introduce to you the course materials that we'll be using. Those of you at home, there's really only 3 things that you're going to need. And I'll go over those with you, that is, apart from yourself also, and here in the group. The first is the workbook. Workbook, week 1. You'll notice that you have several workbooks there, 5 in all. We will just be using this one workbook for the time being. So don't worry about the others. I'll let you know when you need to pull those out and use them. The other is this small 3x5 book. This is a book we call our Gains book, and you're going to be needing this right throughout the 8 segments of the tape and all of the time that you're in the live seminar here, and in fact ongoing from then also. So make sure you have this around and handy. So the third thing you're going to need is this large chart. You'll notice in your package at home that you have this. It's a chart with a lot of emotions on. We're going to be using this a lot in the next 2 days of the class and also in the next 4 tapes. So have it somewhere handy where you can look at it. You'll be using it as reference a terrific amount. Okay, so let me hand you back to Hale. He's going to tell you some more about the course.
The course that we're going to be experiencing together, those of you here and those of you at home, is very different than anything you've experienced before. What I mean by that is many of us have taken classes where there's a lot of information that we have to remember. You'll notice as we go through this course, it's not a...
这里还专门提到这门课程你并没有什么需要记住的东西，而且我们这个技巧与信息也完全没有关系。 这一点呢，不得不提到是莱斯特先生反复说的，心智是我们通向自由的障碍，而所有的信息啊、思考等等这些东西都是属于心智类的东西。所以这门课程在莱斯特先生一开始创立的时候，就已经在努力的排除会用到你心智的任何相关的东西。这也是为什么海尔在一开始就强调不要去管这些七七八八的信息，我们所有学的这些东西与信息都没有任何关系，一切都在于你实际的释放体验，你要去用它，你要去练习它，而不是去思考这个东西是怎么回事儿。你只有体验了，自然就知道它是怎么回事儿。
About the information, but it's about learning a skill or learning an ability that we actually all already have, but we seldom use, and that's our ability to let go. And the whole course is presented in a way that it's experiential as opposed to intellectual. And so as much as you can, as you're working here in the classroom and also as you're viewing the tapes at home, try to feel, not think. Focus here.
这边海尔在详细的说明整个释放法的课程以及技巧的核心都在于感觉，我们所做的一切都是在围绕着感觉，这也是情绪表所设计出来的意义所在。
When I ask you what you're now feeling is, see if you can focus on this part of your anatomy. Now, if you don't feel something here right away, don't worry about it. As the course is designed to help you become more in touch with your emotions, in addition to learning how to let them go. But the important thing to remember is that it is experiential. If someone had told you, had given you a book about how to ride a bicycle, and you read it cover to cover, I'm sure you would agree that even after reading the book about how to ride a bicycle, if you just read a book and you never had any experience on the bicycle, someone handed you a bicycle and said, here, ride, I think you might have gotten a few pedals and you'd be on the floor. Because it's not, again, riding a bicycle is also an experiential thing. But just like riding a bicycle, once you learn how to ride a bicycle, you get on the bicycle, once you've gotten that sense of balance, you don't really think about it anymore. You just ride. The same thing will happen at...
然后这边海尔还提到了一个很重要的点，就是很多的释放法的新手经常问到的一个问题就是我找不到感觉怎么办？这边海尔一开始也就说了，不要担心，一开始没有感觉是很正常的，这个课程呢本来就是在帮助你去专注在自己的感受上。我们在整个练习释放法的过程中，你会对此的感受越来越敏锐。
You use this technique. The more you work with it, you'll get to a point where it becomes second nature. You just get on the bicycle and you keep riding. And so it becomes, even though you have to think about it a little, you have to apply yourself a little bit in the beginning. As you keep going with it, it gets easier and easier to do. Also, the process itself can be subtle at times.
因为很多新手呢，在正式学习这个课程之前，可能已经在网上看到了很多人的分享，或者也知道了很多大神级的人物，所以他们就觉得，我只要一开始用这个释放法，就有如神助啊，很多东西都会如自己所想，立马显现出来。但是呢，这真的需要一个过程，它并不会在你一开始的时候就能够如你所愿的，好像打开了天国的大门一样。
The more you'll get out of it. And you won't always feel a release right away. Sometimes you'll be working with a technique, you'll know something is going on, but you're not even sure what. In fact, I had someone who took the class about a year ago in Houston, and she was participating, but at the end of the class, one of the last things she shared in the class is that, I still have yet to feel my first release. I haven't felt a thing. However, I came to the class as an insomniac. I hadn't slept in 20 years. And since the first night of the class, I've been sleeping totally okay. And then she went through a whole other list of benefits she had gotten. So if you're not sure you're releasing, just be persistent. Because you might not be aware of everything.
海尔也说，你不可能每一次都能够清楚地意识到释放已经发生，就像前面说的，它这个过程是十分微妙的，有时候非常明显，有时候可能在你没有怎么意识到的状态下，它就已经发生了。
But if you keep practicing the technique, it gets easier and easier to do until you'll be sure that you're doing it.